Cassandra, the Cursed Prophet. Part 1. The Kiss of the Sun God. Beauty can be a curse, especially when it catches the eye of a god. Cassandra was the most beautiful of King Priam's daughters, a princess of Troy whose grace rivaled the immortals. It wasn't long before Apollo, the god of prophecy, light, and music, fell desperately in love with her. Apollo appeared to her, glowing with divine radiance, and offered her a gift that no amount of gold could buy, the gift of foresight. He promised that she would be able to see the threads of fate, to know the future before it happened. Cassandra, young and ambitious, accepted the offer. She learned the secrets of the oracle. But once she had the power, she refused to give Apollo what he wanted in return, her love and her body. Enraged by this rejection, Apollo could not take back his divine gift. The laws of the gods forbade it. Instead, he twisted it. He leaned in as if to kiss her, but instead he spat into her mouth. With that act, he cursed her. "You shall always speak the truth," he decreed, "but no one shall ever believe you." Part 2. The Mad Princess. The curse took hold immediately. Cassandra began to see flashes of doom, fire, blood, and ruin superimposed over the glittering towers of Troy. She ran to her father, King Priam, screaming that the city would burn. She told her mother, Hecuba, that her newborn brother Paris would bring destruction to them all. But when she spoke, the people of Troy did not hear a prophet, they heard a madwoman. Apollo's curse worked on their minds, making her frantic warnings sound like the ravings of a lunatic. Her family looked at her with pity, then with annoyance, and finally with fear. They locked her away in a high tower, isolating her from the world she was trying so desperately to save. Imagine the psychological torture, seeing your loved ones walking toward a cliff, screaming for them to stop, and having them smile and walk over the edge because they think you are insane. Part 3. The Warning of Helen. When Paris brought Helen back from Sparta, the whole city celebrated. They saw a beautiful new princess and a victory over the Greeks. Cassandra saw only death. She rushed into the great hall, tearing at her clothes and hair, shrieking that this woman was not a prize, but a torch that would set Troy aflame. "I see blood in the streets," she cried. "I see our sons dead and our daughters enslaved. Send her back." Paris laughed. Hector, usually so kind, gently led her away. They treated her like a child telling ghost stories. The tragedy of Cassandra is that she loved her family deeply. She saw Hector's body dragged in the dust long before it happened. She saw Achilles' spear. She saw the arrows. She mourned them while they were still alive, grieving alone in her tower while they feasted below. The ultimate test of her curse came at the end of the war. When the Greeks sailed away and left the massive wooden horse on the beach, the Trojans rejoiced. They believed the war was over. They began to drag the horse toward the gates. Cassandra ran to the Scaean gates. She didn't just suspect a trap, she saw it. Through her seer's eyes, the wood of the horse became transparent. She saw Odysseus crouching in the dark belly. She saw the glint of swords and the eyes of the killers waiting for nightfall. She grabbed a torch and tried to set the horse on fire. "It is full of demons," she screamed. Burn it now, or we all die." But the citizens of Troy, blinded by relief and the god's curse, stopped her. They wrested the torch from her hands and dragged her away, calling her a buzzkill and a traitor to their joy.
That night, as she lay awake in her chamber listening to the silence, she knew it was the last silence Troy would ever hear. The desecration in the temple. When the slaughter began, Cassandra fled to the only place she thought might be safe, the temple of Athena. She clung to the statue of the goddess, praying for sanctuary, but war has no sanctuary. Ajax the Lesser, not the great Ajax, burst into the temple. He was a man with no fear of the gods. He found Cassandra clinging to the sacred statue. In a moment of brutality that shocked even the other Greeks, he dragged her away with such violence that the statue of Athena toppled over. He assaulted her right there on the temple floor. This act of sacrilege was so heinous that Athena, who had hated Troy and helped the Greeks win, turned against her own champions. She called upon Poseidon to create a massive storm that would destroy much of the Greek fleet on their way home. Cassandra's suffering was the catalyst for the gods finally turning their backs on the Greek heroes. The final vision. Cassandra survived the night only to be taken as a slave, a war prize to the High King Agamemnon. As she was led onto his ship, she stopped weeping. She became eerily calm. She looked at Agamemnon, not with fear, but with a strange acceptance. She saw his future. She saw that he was not taking her to a new life, but to his death. She saw his wife Clytemnestra waiting at home with a double-edged axe and a heart full of hatred. She saw the bathhouse where the king of men would be butchered like an ox, and she saw her own body lying beside him. When they arrived in Mycenae, she stood before the palace gates and refused to enter at first. She spoke her final prophecy, describing the smell of old blood and fresh murder in the house. Then, with the dignity of a princess of Troy, she walked inside to meet the axe. She accepted death, not as a punishment, but as a release. For in death, finally, she would no longer have to see the future. She would only see darkness, and for the first time, peace.